Here's Joy Reid at the end of her show. Again, the bronze medal winner in the dopey media personality talking head Olympics every time, only behind Brian Stelter and Chuck Todd. Here is the absolutely hapless Joy Reid, double mask wearing, jogging in Central Park by herself while vaccinated. Joy Reid suggesting that Ibram Kendi, one of the leading critical race theory advocates in the country today, has nothing to do with critical race theory at all. Check this out.
Another common feature of the freakout is to name and blame particular black public intellectuals who are not even involved in critical race theory. One of those black public intellectuals is Dr. Ibram X. Kendi.
Okay, just to be clear, anyone need to rewind the tape? You need to hear that again? Bronze medal winner Joy, wearing the deuce in Central Park outside by herself while fully vaccinated, who again claims to have a triple-digit IQ while doing so, is claiming Ibram Kendi, leading critical race theory advocate out there, black scholar, by the way, so her words, leading black scholar, that he's not a critical race theorist at all. Well, this took about 32.5 seconds to debunk, if that, and I may be being generous. You may have to cut the 0.5 up. So here we go. I just put in a search engine, Ibram Kendi, critical race theory, and what comes up? Well, he did an interview on a podcast. You'll see it featured here at Slate. Is critical race theory getting canceled? Jason Johnson. Here's Ibram Kendi, who Joy Reid just told you on a national program that has fewer viewers than, halftime of the Puppy Bowl. Seriously, this show is an embarrassment. Here's an actual interview with Ibram Kendi, who she just suggested has nothing to do with critical race theory at all. Here's his answer, Ibram Kendi, when asked about critical race theory. He was kind enough to highlight it for us. Here's the actual transcript. Kendi, quote, "So I've certainly been inspired by my critical race theory and critical race theorists, the way in which I formulated definitions of racism and racist and anti-racism and anti-racist." He goes on to talk about he's inspired by another critical race theorist, Kimberly Crenshaw. I thought, do you understand like how Joy would be, if this was a conservative on the air, suggesting somehow that a leading black scholar had nothing to do with critical race theory, while that leading black scholar is on the record in a 30-second web search claiming he's been inspired by critical race theory, you would have Mediaite, fact checkers, Fake Book, ScrewTube, Twitter and other places fact-checking you into oblivion and banning you from civilized society forever. But because it's Joy Reid and we don't have an honest media, it's allowed to continue like a runaway freight train with nothing ahead of it. She's lying. That's Kendi's own words. Guys, liberals watching. Guys, ladies, to the conservatives, I get it. You get it. Excuse me. You just read what I put in there. It's his own words. What part of this is even open for debate? We're using his own words. And the fascinating part about his own words in that, he says, oh, yes, I've been inspired by critical race theory, the work of Kimberly Crenshaw. I was inspired to write my own definition of racism. What is this definition of racism? Remember this gem from last week? Here's Ibram Kendi, critical race theorist, who Joy Reid says isn't a critical race theorist, even though Kendi says he's a critical race theorist. Here's Ibram Kendi himself with his so-called definition of racism. I'm using the dreaded air quotes under definition because Kendi doesn't even understand what racism is himself. Check this out.
During the question and answer session, one of them dared to ask the most basic question of all. How are we defining racism? How do you define it? Now, you'd think Ibram X. Kendi would be ready for that question, but he wasn't. Here's what he said.
You talked about the importance of defining racism, but I unless I missed it, which is possible, I didn't hear your personal definition. Is there one that you would offer us? Like, how do you define racism?
Sure. So racism, I would define it as a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. Sure. A collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas.
So racism is racist stuff. Or as Kendi puts it, and we're quoting now, it's a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas, end quote. Right.
Listen, as Guy said last week, one of the things Justin, I'm sorry. Justin's not here this week. He's on vacation, intern Justin, which was great. He said, you don't define something, an object or a thing or an idea, by using the object you're defining in the actual definition. You don't describe a pen. What's the definition of a pen? A pen-like object with pen features, which looks like a pen and does pen stuff. That's not the way any of this works. He can't even describe racism. It's a racist thing that does racist stuff. He can't even describe it, yet this guy is out there getting paid a small fortune to lecture around the world about critical race theory and racism and doesn't even know himself what it is, folks. Again, the left telling you things aren't happening that are happening in front of your eyes. The media covers for them, so they'll continue to allow the left to do it.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show.